911. Where's your emergency?
This is Alex Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to answer some. Better than it was, ain't it?
Quit, Cash. Quit. It's okay. Shit. Post it. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
Sorry, Bubba.
Hey, Bubba.
It's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
Immediately, my wife and child just got badly.
Okay, you said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Sir?
You said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Yes, sir. 4147 Moselle Road.
Stay on the line with me, okay?
Hurry.
Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay? Okay.
Collin County Communications.
Collison, I have an Alex Murdaugh on the line, caller from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot.
Okay, and sir, give me the address again.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Okay. Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
My wife and my son.
Are they in a vehicle?
No, ma'am. They're on the ground out at my kennel.
Okay, and did you see anyone? Okay, is he breathing at all?
No. Nobody.
Is she? Okay, do you see anything? Do you see anyone in the area?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
What color is your house on the outside? What color is your house on the outside?
It's white. You can't see it from the road.
Okay, is it a house or a mobile home?
It's a house.
Okay, and what is your name?
My name is Alex Murdaugh.
Okay, did you hear anything, or did you come home and find them?
No, ma'am. I've been gone. I just came back.
Okay, and was anyone else supposed to be at your house?
No, ma'am. Please hurry.
We're getting somebody out there to you. Okay, what is her name?
Maggie and Paul.
Talk about very quick. Gathering storm in Alex's life. Of June 7th, 2021, at the defendant's property off Moselle Road in Colleton County. His son, Paul Murdaugh, was standing in a small feed room and some kennels they had on the property. About 8:50 p.m., and the defendant over there, Alex Murdaugh, took a 12-shade shotgun and shot him in the shoulder, in the chest and the shoulder, with buckshot. And the evidence is going to show it was 1,000,000 to 1 shot. He could have survived that, but after that, another shot went up under his head and did catastrophic damage to his brain and his head. The evidence is going to show that Paul collapsed right outside that feed room. And just moments later, he picked up a .300 Blackout, which is a type of ammunition, but an AR-style rifle, and the evidence is going to show that the family had multiple weapons throughout the property, picked up that .300 Blackout rifle and opened fire on his wife, Maggie, just feet away near some sheds that used to be a hangar. Pow, pow. 2 shots, abdomen in the leg, and took her down. And after that, there were additional shots, including 2 shots to the head.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Dick Harpootlian. I think I introduced myself to you all and the attorneys, the 3 other attorneys, Jim Griffin, Philip Barr, Marvin Fox. It is our honor to represent Alec Murdaugh. Murdaugh, how you pronounce it. I say it's our honor because I submit to you what you have heard from the Attorney General as facts are not.
The 3 voices on that video are the voices of Paul Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Alec Murdaugh.
And how sure are you? How sure are you?
I'm 100% sure that's whose voices.
Do you recognize voices on there?
Yes, sir.
Who do you recognize?
It's Paul, Maggie, Alec.
That video you watched back in November 2022?
It is.
Where's that video taken?
At the kennels.
You recognize your dog?
I do.
You recognize Paul's voice?
Yes, sir.
You recognize Maggie's voice?
Yes, sir.
You recognize Alec's voice?
Yes, sir.
100%?
Yes, sir.
Can I call you Buster?
Yes, sir.
I'm John. And I want to first off tell you, I am sorry about your mother.
Sorry, I can't hear him.
I'm sorry about his mother.
If you step back a little bit, I can hear you.
And I'm sorry about your brother.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry about your grandfather.
Thank you.
You're trying to take me somewhere that you probably don't want to.
Oh, no, I think I want to answer the question. Withdraw the question. Let me ask you this question. Maybe this gets to the meat of matter here. Have you had to come out of pocket to pay back the money he stole?
Yes, and if
How much?
I
Don't tell me you don't know.
well, we're still counting, Mr. Harpootlian.
Well, how much have you paid so far?
We have had to borrow millions to pay back.
No, how much have you had to come out of pocket?
Well, when you borrow it, you got to pay it back, and I couldn't tell you how much has exactly been paid back as of we sit here today. But yes, and if you're implying that I would come in here and somehow shade truth in any way because of that, I would take high offense with that, Mr. Harpootlian.
I'm concerned about your high offense. Are you angry at him for stealing your money?
I have no feeling one way or the other.
I don't have any feeling about Alec Murdaugh betraying you and stealing your money. I admire you. I don't know that I could look beyond that.
It's sustained. There's not a question. The jury is to disregard the argument.
You are not angry with Alec Murdaugh?
I have had anger with him, extreme anger, Mr. Harpootlian, because of what he did to my law firm, my partners, my client, his clients, our clients, what he did to his family, what he's did to so many people. Yes, I experienced a lot of anger, but you can't walk around with anger. You have to find a way to deal with it and move forward. And I have done that. And if you suggest you are dead wrong if you think I've come in here and told this jury something because of money, when we're talking about 2 people who were brutally murdered, then you're headed in the wrong direction.
Do you think he did it?
I don't have an opinion. I don't have the benefit of the materials you have.
Well, let me ask you this. You're angry with him, stole millions of dollars from your firm. You admit your firm's not even called the Murdaugh firm anymore, right?
It is not. I don't admit that I'm angry right now. I told you I've gotten away from that. I don't have any feelings because you can't walk around with anger. I have been very, very angry about it because of what he's done. And he did it in a very callous way, a very deceitful way.
And you carry no, I'm sorry, maybe I just saw some anger there. Were you angry just a moment ago?
No, you keep trying to push a question and don't want to accept my answer, which is what it is.
That you've just given your Zen, your Nirvana, your whatever the.
Your Honor, objection.
The information that part of the investigation where you and members of your staff and the forensic accountants determined that the clients did not authorize any of these transactions. I mean, you have no personal knowledge other than what's been told to you by people working for you or by the clients, right?
I also saw some of the deposits going into his personal Bank of America account statements.
No, I understand that, but whether the clients.
If they had some back deal, I don't know about any of it, no.
Right. Any information you have about what the clients told the firm is hearsay, as far as you know.
It's not hearsay if they said it to me.
Was Alec very involved in the actual management of the firm?
No.
Were other partners more involved in the management of the firm?
Yes.
Tell me, what was your observation of Alec as a lawyer in the office? What was your observations and characterization?
Alec kept different hours than a lot of the rest of us. He came in and he would work late. Always loud, always busy, always in a rush. He had the gift of gab, but he always seemed last minute and hurried and frenetic.
Okay. Always last minute and frenetic?
Yes.
What about his cell phone use? How was he with a cell phone?
Constantly on the phone.
Constantly on the phone. What were your observations of him as a lawyer?
I think Alec was successful more not from his work ethic, but from his ability to establish relationships and to manipulate people into settlements and clients into liking him. So he did it through the art of bullshit, basically.
But the expectation of the outcome of a hearing on June 10th was not that you're going to get to launch a full-scale forensic audit because you had a conversation with someone whose lawyer said, oh, he's broke, and you didn't believe it. Not at that stage of the litigation, sir, is it? That's not what's going to happen, is it?
I don't think you need a full-scale forensic audit for something a 5-year-old could see. So, no.
Who was your mother?
Gloria Satterfield.
Gloria Satterfield?
Yes.
And is Gloria still with us?
She's not.
And when did she pass?
February 26, 2018.
2018?
Yes, sir.
And who did she work for when she passed?
Alex and Maggie Murdaugh.
Okay. And do you know Alec Murdaugh?
I do.
Do you see him here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out?
Yes.
Right there. Your Honor, can the record reflect he's identified the defendant?
I mean, it's that camera. Yeah, where is he? Where is he?
What was that, sir? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Point him out again if you would, please.
Right there.
All right.
Right.
Can you tell me what jacket he's wearing?
A navy blue jacket.
It does.
Thank you, Your Honor. How long did your mom, roughly, how long did she work for Alec? Do you know?
I had to take an estimated guess, 20-something years, maybe give and take. I don't know that years.
Okay. And slide up just a little bit more. Talk right into that mic. There you go. Just a little bit. You need to get up on the mic so we can hear you. All right. What did your mom do for Alec?
She was their housekeeper. She babysat for them. She cleaned their house, and kind of anything else they kind of need.
Okay. And she'd been doing that for a long time?
Yes.
During the course of that, you got to know Alec and his family to some extent as well?
Yes.
Did you trust Mr. Murdaugh?
Yes.
What happened to your mom?
She fell and hit her head.
And where was she when that happened?
She was at Alice's house in Moselle.
In Moselle?
Yes.
Did she pass right away or did she live for a while?
She lived for a few weeks.
Was she ever able to say to you what happened, how she felt or anything?
No, she was not.
After she passed, did you have any conversation with Alec about what to do about it?
I did.
And what was the conversation you had with Alec? What
I
did he say?
barely,
Go ahead.
I barely remember, but it's like, let me go after my insurance company for this or whatever, kind of get these medical bills and stuff paid.
Okay. So he said he was going to go after his insurance company?
Yes.
And get medical bills for your mom paid?
Yes.
Did he say he might get money for you and your brother?
Yes.
Did he say how much that might be?
No.
Ultimately, was there a lawsuit filed?
Yes.
All right. And who did you consider your lawyer was in all of this?
Alex.
At some point in time, did he bring another lawyer in?
Yes.
And what did he tell you about that?
He said, if I understood it correctly, I can't do it myself because conflict of interest. I'm going to send you to my buddy, Corey Fleming.
Corey Fleming?
Yes.
Did he tell you anything about his relationship with Corey Fleming other than they were buddies?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did he tell you anything more about his relationship with Corey Fleming?
No.
After he brought in Corey Fleming, were you still communicating directly with Alec about the case?
Yes.
Who did you think your lawyer was?
Alex.
The whole time?
Yes.
Did he ever bring in a person, or did they ever bring in a person by the name of Chad?
Yes.
And you remember Chad's last name?
Westendorf.
Okay. And what did they tell you about Chad?
That he should be my PR.
Your PR?
Yes.
Did you ever meet with Chad?
Yes.
Did you meet with him a lot or just?
One time I can think of.
Alec told you that he was going after his insurance company. Did he say how much that insurance was?
One of them that I know of was like $500,000, and that's the only one.
That's the only one he told you about?
Yes.
Did he ever tell you that there was also an umbrella policy worth upwards of $5 million?
No.
Never mentioned that to you, did he?
No.
Of course, indulge just one moment. We'll show you what's been marked as states 372 to your testimony and just have you take a look at that. And do you recognize that document?
Yes.
And tell me what that is.
That is a cover sheet that I sent him, Alex.
Okay. And what's the reason that you sent that to Alec?
I got something from the trailer company and a medical bill, I believe, and I just wanted to be sure what I needed to do with it.
You had received some paperwork about your mom?
It was a bill.
It was a bill?
Yeah.
And who did you send that to?
Alex Murdaugh, or the law firm.
All right. And why did you send it to Alec Murdaugh?
Because he said if we got any medical bills, just forward them to him, and I didn't know if I needed to do anything with it.
Because you thought he was your lawyer?
Yes.
All right. And this had your phone number on there, but we blacked it out, correct?
Yes.
As time went on, did you have conversations with Alec asking him about the case and what was going on with the case or anything like that?
Yes, not very rarely, but every few months or so.
And what would he tell you just generally?
First, it was hard-hearted, like it was making progress, and he kind of left it at that.
He said it was hard, but they were making progress?
Yes.
Did he tell you anything about whether or not you and your brother were to get any money? The medical bills were paid?
Said he was hoping.
Did he give you any idea of the amount?
If I remember correctly, one time he said trying to get each of you at least $100,000 apiece.
Each of you, you and your brother?
Yes.
At some point in time, did your family advise you that there was some media reporting about a settlement in the case?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, had you heard anything from Alec or Corey or Chad or anybody about a settlement in the case?
No.
All right. And what, if anything, did you do after your family? Did they ask you to do anything?
Yeah, they said you might want to kind of follow up on it and kind of see.
And did you make a phone call to Alec?
Yes.
All right. And what month was that in?
I believe the last time I talked to him was in June of 21.
June of 21?
Yes.
Around the time of the murders?
Yes.
And what did you ask him?
I can't believe what I asked him, but it was still making progress and be ready to settle, by the end of the year.
He told you it was still making progress and he was hoping to settle by the end of the year?
Yes.
Did he tell you that they had already gotten a settlement for $500 and $5,000?
No.
Did he tell you that they had already gotten a settlement for $3.8 million?
No.
Had he ever told you that there was an umbrella policy for $5 million?
No.
Did he ever mention to you anything about Forge?
No.
Did he mention anything to you about structuring any settlement?
No.
Did you give him permission to steal your money?
No.
Was he there 30 or 40 minutes that night?
Not to my recall.
Why are you crying, Ms. Smith?
Because they're a good family, and I love working here. And I'm sorry all this happened. They're good people,
But he wasn't there no 30 or 40 minutes, was he?
No.
Can't leave the witness.
Did that conversation upset you?
Somewhat.
You upset right now?
Yes.
Did you call anybody about it?
My brother.
You called your brother after that conversation with Alex?
Yes.
To tell him about that conversation?
Yes.
How'd you find out?
I was asleep. My phone's always kind of sit beside the bed. I could hear it buzzing, but I really wasn't paying any attention. My wife comes in kind of, just hysterical. She says, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. And I don't remember if she was on the phone with Randy's wife or Randy himself. She's trying to tell me what's going on, and I'm looking at my phone, and I've got a text from a person I knew in Hampton that's texting me saying, hey, give me a call. I got to tell you something before you hear it somewhere else. It was a person that was in the county government down there that I knew that was just trying to get word to me before I heard it somewhere else. My wife, I don't think I respond to that person or her text immediately. My wife was telling me what's going on. I just told her, I said, I'll get some clothes. I got to go to Moselle. We started trying to call our daughter right at about 11 o'clock. Started trying to call our children, tell them what was going on.
9:08, 9:10 on June 7th. Buster, when did you first find out that your mom and brother were murdered?
My dad called me. I can't remember the exact time, but it was later. And he called me on the phone. He asked me if I was sitting down, and I was like, yeah. And then he, sounded odd, and then he told me that my mom and brother had been shot.
What'd you do?
Well, Brooklyn, my girlfriend, was with me, and I think she heard the she could hear my conversation kind of over the phone. And so she just started packing stuff, and I kind of just sat there for a minute. And I was in shock, but eventually we got our stuff together and drove down to Moselle.
And was it cleaned up?
No, Jim, it was not cleaned up.
Were there skull fragments?
Yeah, so, so, excuse me, this is going to be really difficult. So I could easily see where Maggie had been. I saw the night before where the sheets were, and somebody had told me that who was who. And so I could see where Maggie had been, and it was grass, and, they had covered it up with dirt. So there really was nothing to see where Maggie was. I walked over to the feed room, and y'all have heard the descriptions. Y'all saw it. I've never seen pictures, and I've told them before coming to this court that I was not going to see pictures. But y'all can imagine what I experienced. It had not been cleaned up. I saw blood. I saw brains. I saw pieces of skull. And when I say brains, it could just be tissue. I don't know what I was seeing. It was terrible. And for some reason, I thought it was something that I needed to do for Paul to clean it up. Felt like it was the right thing to do. I felt like I owed him, and I started cleaning. And I can promise you, no mother or father or aunt or uncle should ever have to see and do what I did that day. I don't know. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's just, I was just overwhelmed. I did everything I could, and I would have moments where I would stop crying for a moment, and just in disbelief. At one point, I called my brother Randy and told him what I was doing, trying to describe what I was doing, and he immediately told me to stop doing it. It was not good for me. It was not healthy for me to be there. And I couldn't stop. I had to do it for Paul. That's just what I had to do. And I don't know, it's probably 15, 20 minutes later. Mark Ball shows up. Y'all heard Mark Ball testify. And he came and hugged me and told me it was okay to leave. Okay to leave what was left of Paul. They would clean it up. It's the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life.
Yes, sir. And so I walked back over there and looked around, and then looking around around the floor and all that, there was a piece of Paul's skull about the size of a baseball laying there.
Did that upset you?
It did, very much. I mean, it just really infuriated me. And I don't know who I was supposed to be mad at, but it just infuriated me that this young man had been murdered and there was still his remains there. And there was a large blood spot and tissue out right off of the apron of that area right outside the feed room that was there. And it's kind of like walking across a grave. It's one of those things you just don't do.
Right.
Alec didn't seem to be afraid.
Did he also talk about getting Buster back into law school
Yes.
after the murders? Maggie loved those dogs, didn't she?
She did.
She liked going down there and playing with them?
She did.
Captain Chapman, do you notice blood marks here in the water?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection is sustained.
Did you observe blood marks in the water when you were there that evening?
Calling for speculation. He is calling for speculation as to what discoloration in the water, if there is any, is caused by.
I'll lay more of a foundation, Your Honor. Captain Chapman, were you familiar with the scene as this picture depicts?
Yes,
Did you personally view what this picture depicts?
I did.
Are you familiar with the discoloration, and did you observe the discoloration in this photograph on two different areas?
I did see that.
Was that discoloration, in your opinion, consistent?
Objection. He's not been qualified to give an opinion about this matter.
I didn't hear the complete question.
In your estimation, and
Your Honor, objection, and if he's going to pursue this frivolous line of questioning, I'd ask the jury be excused. There's no evidence whatsoever.
Objection is overruled. Let's pose the question.
in your experience and observation, having observed the scene and all the matter that was there, were those lines in the water consistent with blood?
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Thank you.
I don't need to be thanked for any ruling.
No, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Expressing my gratitude is improper. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I'll have just one last question on
Everything that has come out since then.
Did you say that you had a conversation with Mr. Griffin?
That day that we found out that Alec had been shot, we did have a conversation with Mr. Griffin, and he's
Mr.
the
Griffin
one.
told you that he'd been fired and that he'd been caught stealing money.
Correct.
That's just hearsay.
Well,
Absolutely.
what kind of quandary does that put you in? You're going to be a witness as well?
Well, that's a hearsay statement, Your Honor. Without a doubt, it's classic hearsay.
This, the basis for her fear or not having fear, which is something you, or fear or believing that Alex was in fear, that's something that you were probing. Aside from that issue, how about the family relationship issue, fidelity, opioid abuse concerns?
Your Honor, with regard to fidelity, I mean, we can hear what she says about it, but the evidence, as I understand it, is 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know how long ago, but it was more than 10 years ago. There was some issue about someone that Alec had known in college reaching out to him.
Bring this to the court's attention. There were literally dozens of people at Moselle last weekend trespassing to get selfies in front of the feed room. I mean, most distasteful kinds of things I've ever seen. So perhaps before they head out there, some of the security could be in place, and so they
We're
don't.
law enforcement security saying ensure that no one is there.
Well,
Unless, yeah.
John Marvin, his brother, is maintaining that property. He had to call the sheriff's department to come remove him, and it seems they have they're sort of a carnival attitude about this case than what we have to deal with. So I don't want the jury influenced by, crazy paparazzi. I don't think there's really any.
No one can be there. The scene will be secure. No one will be there during a jury view. Now, do you want a jury view? Does the defense want a jury view?
I do. I just want to ensure that the security is not caught unawares about what a circus is going to be outside the property. And they've got the authority to close off the road. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not telling them how to do their job.
Emails concerning a social media post by Mr. Griffin commenting upon witnesses' testimony and quality of the investigation by the state. And it appeared on my Twitter feed this morning. Mr. Griffin, is this part of your defense strategy or?
Your Honor, all I did was retweet an article that was published in the Washington Post. I didn't put any comment. I didn't make any statement. I just retweeted the article that's in the newspaper. That's all I did.
We had an NBA player who retweeted an article, professional basketball player who retweeted an article that resulted in him being suspended from the NBA for about 10 days and cost him about $10 million in salary. So retweeting is the same as, to some, as if your tweet. It appeared, I didn't know that, well, I mean, I'm not a Twitter friend of yours, but it just appeared on my, under Twitter. First thing up this morning was you. We had the lawyer who had a similar name to, a person with a similar name to our lawyer witness, and it was someone else by the same name. In your interest, your instance, it's your name and your picture. So
retweet the article, no question about it.
Yeah, well, I've been reviewing Rule 3.6 regarding that, and whereas the rule does not specifically state that the lawyers are prohibited from criticizing witnesses during the course of the trial or commenting on a case that they're actively participating in. I think it goes against the spirit of the law, of the rule, and it doesn't pass the field test. So that's, to quote Judge Kynard, it didn't pass the field test. So you should not post or repost anything that would give me or the general public, or hopefully never land in the hand of a juror who, the jurors were instructed not to discuss the case, and obviously that did not extend to the lawyers, but it's not a good practice, and it could easily lead to modification of our rules that might specifically address something like that. So I'll leave it at that.
Stand, Your Honor, I will not retweet anything or tweet anything until this trial is over.
Yes, sir.
And we do have another issue, which I believe I had indicated to Your Honor perhaps in a pretrial conversation as to a conversation that took place a few days after the crimes occurred, in which there were a number of individuals present. Mr. Murdaugh was present. I don't know the contents of that meeting because I've been out of an abundance of caution, have stayed away from that. And I believe that we may have a little bit of testimony just on whether or not there is any attorney-client privilege to that conversation. I've been careful throughout this investigation preparation not to be privy to that, but I do believe that it is not an attorney-client privilege conversation, but I'd like the court's ruling on that before I became privy to the contents of that. That's the only other issue at this time that I think would be addressed in camera that morning.
Your Honor, and sort of a surprise here, were those conversations recorded?
No. And I mentioned this in our pretrial.
Yeah, I just didn't know what you're referring to. Neither one of us know what the contents of those conversations are.
I believe Mr. Griffin was present at this meeting, which is exactly why I wanted the court's ruling before I became privy to the contents of the defendant's statements at that meeting.
We're not quite sure, but we'll wait with bated breath to hear whatever it is.
Can you be more specific as to what you're talking about, Mr. Waters?
From my understanding, there was a meeting or some sort of gathering in which Mr. Griffin and Mr. Murdaugh and then a number of other individuals were present, in which the defendant made some statements. The contents.
Individuals?
No. I think some of his partners and other individuals, maybe some family, to which I have never been privy to the contents. However, I would like to know the contents, but I've been careful out of an abundance of caution not to ever become privy until I had a ruling from the court that there was no attorney-client privilege because of the presence of third parties to that conversation. So I would like to address that with the court, and if the court believes that and rules that there is no attorney-client privilege, then I may, at the appropriate time, examine people who were present at that conversation as to what the defendant said.
And is that in relation to financial crimes or?
No, sir, that would be in relation to the murders of Maggie and Paul. But it is an in-camera matter that if we have the time available, I wanted to raise that with the court. Maybe we can go ahead and knock that one out as well.
All right. Any thoughts by the defense?
Your Honor, what he's referring to is, it was on Thursday, June the 10th, when SLED came to John Marvin Murdaugh's hunting property to interview Alec, to interview John Marvin Murdaugh, Randy Murdaugh, Buster Murdaugh, and I was there to represent Alec for purposes of that. Before SLED got there, we were all in the house. I have no idea what beyond that he's talking about. I mean, what was supposedly said or heard, or I have no idea, but beyond that, I don't know of any conversations that he's trying to find the substance of and who he's going to get them from.
Your Honor, I think that's just it. We would have a witness as to the circumstances of who was present, and in the event that Your Honor rules that because of the presence of third parties, it was not a protected conversation, then I would become privy or asked to become privy to the content of that. And again, that isn't
by inquiring of who?
Well, the witness who were present, and so I'm going to call one of those, which
law
could be
partners.
Exactly. And again, I wouldn't even have to do that on the stand. I would just want Your Honor's blessing before I did that because of an abundance of caution and protection of the attorney-client privilege. At that point, I could, offline become privy to the content of it. It may be nothing. I've just been told that there was that meeting and the circumstances of it, and I don't believe it's protected. And so I'd like to know, what the defendant said at that meeting.
Yes.
Sounds like he's asking for a deposition, Your Honor. And he's got no right to an evidentiary hearing about what happened at a meeting in the course of a trial. He's got no right to compel people to come testify so we can find out what was said. That's discovery. I mean, state grand jury allows him to do that, but there's no rule that permits him to conduct a deposition, whether in court or out of court. And that's what he's trying to do.
Quality, of the impression, a more meaningful conclusion cannot be rendered. The item 21 and 95, have been eliminated based on the outsole design.
So
those would be Paul's shoes and Maggie's.
So she found that was consistent with Paul's shoe, correct?
Based on her opinion, yes.
Okay. And I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I would just want to briefly go through. Did she also, on the 105.2 footwear impression, say that Paul's shoes were consistent?
And continues, the lack of clarity in the impression makes it difficult to determine if it was made by the left or the right shoe. Therefore, a more meaningful conclusion cannot be reached. And they were eliminated.
It's consistent, correct? The lack of clarity make it difficult to determine a more meaningful, but it's consistent, right? They weren't eliminated. Why'd you say that?
I read the next line.
Yeah, but that's item 21 and 95.
Correct.
You were trying to imply that.
No, I wouldn't do that.
You made a mistake?
No.
Well, you said they were eliminated.
Jeff, him standing up, badgering this witness next to him. He can read it. He can comment from back here. He's in the doorway, but again, I object.
Yeah.
For clarity.
That's normal.
He's been
The
up here.
objection is to you standing in the doorway.
He's been standing up here the whole
No.
time. He aimed a gun at us yesterday.
Pardon?
He aimed a gun at us from here yesterday.
The goose good for the gander is a rule, and I can't find it in my rule book.
And leading up to the murders, was she anxious about anything?
She had a conversation with me. She had a conversation with me a few months prior. I walked in the house and Maggie said, "Hey, Blanc," she said, "I got to talk to you. I got something to tell you." And so she said, "Let me make some coffee." And she went and made a pot of coffee. She made me a cup. She made herself a cup, and we went. She said, "Let's go talk." And we went into the hunting room, and she closed the door because Alec was sleeping in the bedroom, which is on the other side of the house, but she closed the door. When Maggie closed the door,
Your side.
Response?
Judge, I think, was she anxious about money issues?
Your Honor, I object to.
Well, I know you objected, and
But he is.
I understand your objection. Well, I don't care what you're doing. There's an objection to the previous question. The objection is sustained. While entertaining the objection, you cannot pose another question. The objection is sustained.
I apologize.
Yes.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You'll have a seat on the witness stand.
Good morning.
Mr. Murdaugh, on June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take a 300 blackout such as this and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a 300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime. Ever.
Mr. Murdaugh, is that you on the kennel video at 8:44 p.m. on June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
It is.
Were you in fact at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was.
Did you lie to SLED Agent Owen and Deputy Laura Rutland on the night of June 7th and told them that you stayed at the house after dinner?
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
And in the interview of August 11th, did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes. What I can tell you is that in all these financial situations, I stole money that was not my money. I misled people that I shouldn't have misled, and I did wrong. I can tell you that. And I may be able to tell you specifically in some instances what I did or didn't do.
Your words were, I got out of there, correct?
I believe that's what I said, yes, sir.
And you also said during your testimony on cross-examination that you hurt the ones you love the most, didn't you?
I did say that.
Thank you. Nothing further.
In saying that, Mr. Waters, I just want to explain that answer. I mean, he just asked me a question about what I said, and then I was going to explain why I said it.
All right.
As I told you earlier, you're implying to this jury and to me that was me talking about hurting Maggie and Paul. And that's not what that was. What that was is me saying, I know I hurt my brother, my partners, my clients, many of whom I told you I loved, all of whom I cared for. And that's what that was when I'm talking about how my misdeeds, how I hurt the people worst were the ones I loved the most.
I just asked you what you said, correct, Mr. Murdaugh?
Well, there's two things. You referring to the civil case when you say the boat case,
Okay.
but when I think about the boat case, I think about the charges that y'all brought against Paw.
Okay.
So, but there also the civil case.
All right. Paul, that was your new name for Paul?
I mean, I called him Paw. Maggie called him Paw. Bus calls him Paw.
Sure.
Roro calls him Paw. I mean, that's
Roro?
not.
Who is Roro?
That's Rogan Gibson.
Okay. And this jury, of course, has heard multiple recorded statements of you during the course of this. Did you ever refer to Paul as Paw during that?
I don't know
Do you recall?
how I referred to. I can say Paul if you prefer that.
No, you can call him whatever you want. I'm just asking you if you ever called him that during the course of that entire investigation. Or is that also the first time today, at least publicly?
Is today the first time I've called my son Paw? No, sir, that is not correct.
Have you ever called him that on all the recorded statements that this jury has heard?
I don't know.
You ever called Rogan Roro?
I
In
called
all
him
the
Rogan
recorded statements?
all the time.
In the recorded statements, did you ever call him that?
I don't know. I mean, I called him Rogan also, so I don't know.
Matters of controversy or in controversy or outstanding issues regarding any witness.
Not on part of the defense.
Not on part of the state, the new information from GM we addressed this morning, and obviously
here, and this is where I believe the shooter would be if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So if you'll come up here, Mr. Arbutland, and let me find the dowel.
Let me bend down. Don't let him bend down like that.
No, So if you're coming out of threat, you're going to get down.
Down?
Yeah, get down. Almost to the ground.
And over like this?
Further. All the way. Yeah, you probably need to get down further, but you probably can't do that. But the shot to the head as it's coming out, right? Or boom.
You'd have to be twisted this way for it to work out with the arm if that.
It's the, I think it's like an exemplar 300 blackout rifle.
And this is the weapon, or weapon like this, that the shooter would have had.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to sort of get a visual of. I'll come down here so I don't point at you. Or maybe let me come up there and come this way. Okay. Why don't you get out of this? So I'm not 5'2" or 5'4". I think you should probably be 5'4". But position me tempting, but I don't know how I can do this so I'm not pointing at somebody. I guess. Oh, I think I'll take the red one. Yeah, that's fine. That's great. Thanks.
Ready to roll with the defense?
Rock and roll, Your Honor.
Rock and roll. All right, well, let's 30-second stretch and bring the jury out. Press on.
And also, I've looked at the death certificates of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, and you have a time of death of 9 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's go through when you begin to examine the body to determine the time of death. Tell me how you do that.
Well, initially that evening, when I initially got there, I was told that SLED was coming, which I knew, depending on where SLED was coming from, it depends. It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. It all depends on what part of the state and what group is actually coming to you. My initial processing was that I went and checked both bodies, and I simply put my hands in their armpits to determine how warm they are. This is one of the things we do sometimes to try and estimate a time of death.
Okay. What do you want me to do?
You hold the protractor up. Nick, there you go.
Except you gotta go this way. No?
You had it. You had it. There you go.
If you like, then go that way.
Which way do you want to go?
I want to
Flip it. Flip it. There you
Okay,
go.
there we go. See what? That's why you're the.
No. I got a feeling you feel it in you, Mr. Harper.
You got that feeling?
I got that feeling.
Okay. So that's 135.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to make it?
Well, I'm not measuring it this way. I mean, you tell me what you want me to make it, because I measured it this angle.
Yeah, but this is just the flip side of that. Remember how you're talking about the negative?
All right, put it back.
Okay. Which way you want it? This? That? Okay, that's 135. What do you want to make it? Oh, wow. There you go.
I'd like to thank the following creators: Alex Erickson, allegedly with Brittany J., Kate Does Crime, Criminality, LFT and Tia from Decipher Podcast, Mallory, and Truth Teller. Boy, this case was a doozy, wasn't it? Thank you all for supporting, encouraging, and for the tremendous amount of teamwork it took to cover this case and trial. Each one of you brought something unique and valuable to the table, and I can't thank y'all enough for letting me be a part of it. To my moderators and homies, Cement Shoes, LFT, Molson Man, Nadie, Sam, Shmita, and True Psych Words Dr. B. Thank you for always being here, supporting me, and running the best chat on the YouTube streets. I couldn't do it without you. Most of all, I want to thank you, the viewers. Thank you for supporting me and leaving me encouraging comments. You are what makes this chat the best chat on the YouTube streets. Thank you for being part of the Ward fam. Time is valuable, and I'm so lucky and grateful y'all choose to spend it with me.